on Tap KBS. Hi, I'm James Knott, and this is your Better Beer Authority. Today we feature a highly acclaimed and hard to get beer, KBS from Founders Brewing Company in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It is an unfiltered imperial stout brewed with coffee and chocolates and then aged in oak bourbon barrels for a year. It is 11.2% ABV and 70 IBUs. Serve it in a snifter, but make sure you don't drink it too cold. 50 to 55 degrees is cold enough. It is released in April and quickly sells out. KBS stands for Kentucky Breakfast Stout, which was the original name of the beer. But Founders had to change the labels because they aren't allowed to use the word Kentucky on the packaging since it is brewed in Michigan. It gets perfect 100 ratings on Rate Beer and Beer Advocate. However, we will be reviewing the beer in a blind taste test and our panelists won't be swayed by the hype. We also spoke to Mike Stevens and David Engbers, and this is what they had to say about the beer. Why not do 10 times more? I mean, if there's that many people that want it.
This is the simple math theory. Essentially what we have to do is, our limitation is it's attached directly to the brew house size that we have.
Yeah.
So what we do when we make Kentucky breakfast is we stop all that we do 24/7, 1 week a year, and make as much Kentucky breakfast as we can. And then that goes into the bourbon barrels, and it's aged for a year. Mm-hmm. So Kentucky breakfast is not a product that you can make, throughout a course of 4 months.
Yeah.
And then age it, because we want that. We have a very specific process that we take in producing that beer, and it is to put it all into the caves at the same time, so it ages similar.
And it's not just that too. It's also we have a responsibility to the rest of our lineup to maintain.
Right. That's
Centennial IPA and Dirty Bastard and Red's Rye and.
Well, that's the point of
we
the
have to
limitation.
we have to keep producing those brands so the shelves don't dry up.
Well, you got supply and demand, so if there's that many people demanding it, then you could just raise the price up really high, and that would kind of shorten the lines, right?
That's not the style either.
The whole idea has to be, our beer should always be accessible. And that's one of our frustrations when,
Does that piss you off if it ends up on eBay or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin, when you sat down there, you had an initial reaction to the aroma.
I'm getting a coffee scent. It was a little cool when we first sat down. I think we tried to warm it up. I'm starting to get some vanilla with it. The taste, the appearance, and the smell all go hand in hand. I'm enjoying it. I'm trying to continue to warm it up here and see what I can pull out of it. But the first pass, I like this beer a lot.
Yeah. Joby, would you describe this as a low alcohol beer?
Softball.
Yeah, real low alcohol, nice IPA, real hop forward. No, this is definitely. I don't even think it would matter if you would have put this in a pint glass or a tulip glass. We're going to be able to pull out the aromas and the deep chocolate coffee nodes to this beer. It is definitely, I would think, high in alcohol, but it's not like overpowering. I think it's masked pretty well because it doesn't like hit you in the face, and it's not like, oh, you're tasting pure alcohol. So I think it's masked pretty well, but it's probably a real high, real high ABV.
Coffee-ish.
Yeah, I kind of get the alcohol a little bit in the nose, but on the palate, it's just kind of warming.
Right,
it's not harsh at all.
It's pleasant.
So, Ryan, what are your impressions of this beer?
I mean, everything the other guys said. From the aroma to the flavors, chocolate, vanilla, coffee, warming alcohol, delicious roast. It's very, very tasty.
Very tasty. Okay.
Yummy.
Let's get some ratings.
I'm a 9.
Why is that?
I can tell this is. There's nothing I don't like about this. Everything is working in harmony, and I can tell as it gets a little bit warmer, I'm continuing to like it more and more. I would love to drink this all the time.
Okay, Joby, would you drink this all the time?
I would not drink this all the time because I probably can't afford it, and it probably only allow me to have one beer a night, and I like to have multiple beers a night. However, I wouldn't mind ending my night with this. And with that, I'm going to give this a 9 too. Okay. I think this is fantastic beer. It's complex, probably more complex than I can describe it. I think these guys on my left and right can definitely explain it better, but it's just smooth for me. It's good tasting, it's good, well balanced, and I think it's just a great tasting beer.
Ryan, is this a good beer for you?
Oh, it's a very good beer for me. I'm going to make your math easy and be at a 9 as well. Beers like this, the big beers, lots of complexity to them that have the potential for aging, and I think that this is a beer that for me is likely only going to grow if it were given more age. As it is in front of me right now, it's a 9, but I could see this with another year, 2 years on it, going up to a 10 for me.
I'm curious to see if it's barrel aged, say in a bourbon barrel or oak. I don't really get the oak out of it, but I'm curious to see, because I initially had the coffee flavor, and then it started to develop a little bit into more of a bourbon or an alcohol. So I reveal it. I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it reminds me of what was our highest rated beer last year, the Plead the Fifth.
It reminds you of Plead the Fifth.
It reminds me. I mean, it's.
Well,
that sort of a.
It just came out this week.
Yay.
Ryan, this is one you work in a beer store and you couldn't even get.
Yep.
Scott and I worked really hard at getting Kentucky Breakfast Stout. You know how hard it is to get 5 bottles of Kentucky Breakfast Stout?
I'm wondering how many people you had to knife for it.
I mean, it's not like we just had to get one to do a review. We had to get 5 of them. And there was a 1 bottle maximum at my local beer shop. So, Kevin, what do you think? I know you wanted this beer.
I did, and I am grateful that I blind taste tested it. It just, I think it adds to it. I tried to downplay my mind that this was that good of a beer because I couldn't get it. And here I am drinking it and thinking, gosh, this is a 9, and really, really enjoying it. And
do you think if we hadn't done it blind, would it have been a fair review? Like, would you have still been a 9, or do you think you've been like, woo, KBS, it's a 10?
I would have been at 9 or 10 if I hadn't known. I'm glad to know I was at a 9 and not a 5, not knowing. But when I read when you read the label here, so it's an ale brewed with chocolate and coffee, aged in oak bourbon barrels. So here I was, we're talking about coffee flavors, chocolate, and then questioning if it's in a bourbon barrel. So we're getting all of that. Yeah. So you have to give them credit for one of the most acclaimed beers. It hit on all the notes that they claim they have in it. And so, I mean, kudos to that, and I'm enjoying it.
Joby, you're probably the least beer geeky guy here. What do you think about getting to try this beer?
I mean, from all the emails that we traded, just within the BBA here, and I even went out and tried to get this at our local bottle shop.
I appreciate that.
And I couldn't find it.
Did you go to a gas station?
Yeah. The local Speedway. They didn't have it.
It's not next to Budweiser.
It's amazing. But anyways, I think, if we would have done this review unblind, or been able to see it beforehand, unblind, is that a word?
Sure.
Let's reblind it.
Cited? I think there would have been a 10 in the crowd. I mean, I don't think I would have given it, but I think with all the excitement around this beer and all of the nostalgia about how hard it is to get, and we couldn't find it anywhere. Can you get it? Can you get it? Oh, I got a bottle. I just think that the hype around this beer probably would have got a better rating if we did not do it blind. But doing it blind.
A 9 is still really good. Yeah. 6.9 is our average.
Definitely up there. Definitely.
9 is about as high as it gets. We've had a couple 9.3s.
I think if Scott Blickham was sitting on this, he probably going to give this a 13.
Scott, come over here for a second. Would
you have not have given this a 13?
Scott, come down here closer to my microphone.
That's what you always say.
So now, Scott, you could not be on this review because it was not blind for you. So why were you so inspired to go seek out this beer?
I think it actually stems from earlier. I guess it was last year. I don't think it was earlier this year. Last year, maybe when Ryan brought over a vertical tasting of it, and we tasted 2010, 11, and 12, and I was hooked. And I mean, 2010 to me was the tops. I mean, it was awesome, and it was a 10. And then I think as you got progressively down the line, it never got lower than a 9. But I mean, it was just a beer that I loved, and I think you hit on it when you said that it had every single note that they talk about as far as the coffee, the chocolate, the bourbon, everything, and it nails it on the head. But it doesn't overdo anything. It's kind of everything in moderation. I mean, and this really packs a wallop with each and every one, but I think it was done perfectly. So there's a balance to this beer that
A lot of harmony.
just makes it amazing, and enjoy it.
This dude is a beer hunter. He's a beer hunter. I'm telling you, he was all over the city of Columbus looking for this
Cheers to
beer.
you, sir.
And if it was not for Scott,
Cheers.
we would not have this reviewed today. So Scott, get the hell off the set.
Arguably, too, it's 11.2%,
11.2, yeah.
and you don't. The alcohol isn't the veiling factor of what makes the beer.
Right.
As Ryan said, it's very mellow in that fact. You get it in the smell, but it's very smooth in flavor. So they've brewed this to perfection. I mean,
I just think that the one thing about this beer is, I don't go out of my way to like track down tons of rare beers, but all the reviews out there, almost none of them are blind, and we're doing a blind taste test. And in a blind taste test, we get a 9.0, which is almost as high as we give on this show. I think that's astounding. I think people should go out and try this beer. I mean, we sat down with David Engbers and Mike Stevens at Founders, and they're just great guys, and you just felt like, hey, they really love their beer, and they're fun guys, and I wish all the best for them. And I think every beer nerd in the country should get this. Now, Dave and Mike, you gotta make more of this beer, okay? I don't care if you have to build a bigger cave. I don't know what you have to do, shut down the factory for 2 weeks. Make more, please. The beer nerds want it. Anyways, I'm James Knott. KBS gets a 9.0 on the BBA scale. What do you think of this beer? Let us know in the comments section. Thanks for watching. This is your Better Beer Authority.
Better Beer Authority.